Hello and welcome to the Upgrade School Marketing Podcast. I am Matt Soul. I'm Director of Marketing Communications at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall School.
And I'm Angie Ward, President of Enroll Media Group, a digital marketing agency for schools.
Hello, Angie. How are you?
I'm doing great, Matt. Busy, but good. How are you?
Exactly the same. Yeah. Just had a marketing committee meeting, so got all the reports out and all the info, and we're in yield time now with all the other schools out there. So I was just wondering what are you seeing with schools working now in this important time of yield of all these families that have come in, keeping them interested?
Yeah, yield is so important. Maybe it's trying to get them to revisit, right? Those revisit days or shadow days. Really kind of working those leads through the funnel is done well at the email marketing level too, because you have those families, you have a lot of information about them. So that's really when email marketing comes into play. And that's what we're seeing a big push for right now.
Yeah, and on that too, just in doing all our reporting and all of that, email marketing and segmenting is something we saw a really big return on this recent years. Not just all the automated emails, but taking the work to separate our list to see who has done this but not this, or who has come here but has not done that. So breaking those into is, obviously as few as you can to make it useful, but then sending the very relevant info about the stage that they're currently at and what they've done and what they need to do. Those results are just going through in the most opens, the most clicks, the most action on emails that we've ever had in those. So that was a lesson we got over the last few months, is segmenting is worth all the time it takes to get in there and be personal.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And looking at that data, there's so much good data in there to help inform what's working, what isn't working, and all of that good stuff.
Yep. Awesome. All right. Well, let's get into today's talk. Angie, you want to let us know?
Yeah, we're going to be talking about just that, email marketing today. And our guest is Rebecca Bernardo-Hartley. She's the Director of Marketing and Communications at the Wolf School. With a background in video and photography, she discovered her love for digital marketing early in her career and returned to school to complete her master's in digital marketing and design at Brandeis University. With over 8 years of school marketing experience, Rebecca is passionate about showcasing each school's unique story through marketing. And so we are going to jump into our conversation on email marketing with Rebecca. Hi, Rebecca. Thanks for joining us today. It's so great to see you.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Great. So let's dive in. We're so excited about this chat with you. First, let's start off high level. I mean, email has really stood the test of time in terms of marketing channels, and it's definitely true for schools as well. It's still such an effective form of marketing, and I'd love to hear from you about, why that is, and also, what makes you so passionate about email marketing.
Yeah, I mean, it really has stood the test of time, which is incredible to see. I think a lot of that is because email marketing has just continued to grow over time. And what we're doing now isn't what we used to be doing, years ago, which is wonderful to see. But I think the main reason is because email marketing is such a direct mean of marketing. The biggest challenge we face as marketers is trying to get our intended message in front of our intended audience. And with email marketing, you're getting your message in the hands of your actual audience. And I mean, you can think about how often you check your own emails. The average American worker checks their emails 5 hours every single day. We all check it. I'll be the first one to say, I check it when I wake up in the morning. It's part of how I get ready for the day. And so with email marketing, you have a direct line to your audience. It's also incredibly effective. And I think that, can really be seen in how fast email marketing is growing across industries, because organizations are seeing such incredible ROI on their efforts, because it is such an effective way to get your message in front of your audience and actually have them take action. Personally, my favorite, I think email marketing is so wonderful because you get to be creative with it. You get to tell the story of your school and showcase your personality and the spirit and what really sets your students apart and your school apart. And I think that's what has always attracted email marketing to me. I love storytelling, and I feel very passionate about being able to tell the story of my school. And email marketing just provides this beautiful canvas to be able to do that through different types of media, through really engaging pieces of content, through really compelling stories. It's just a beautiful way of storytelling.
Yes, that's great. And I am guilty also at checking my email first thing in the morning. I'm really trying to not do that, but it's tough.
It's hard. I know. I like to know what's laying ahead of me for the day. It helps me get prepared.
I've been turning notifications off as the new, like, not getting an immediate notification right away, trying to at least deliberately check, because it is like too tempting if it opens up. And then you're in another app, and then you just go down and down a dark
And
hole.
then the whole morning's gone.
Yes. So you've been not only doing this, but also presenting on it, and Angie got to see you present on this. So I just wonder, like, the schools that are all at different levels. There's schools that have sophisticated campaigns and are segmenting and doing all this, and schools that are just kind of getting started and maybe are just sending like a regular newsletter update type thing. So I just wonder, when you talk to these schools, what are some of the best practices you share with them as far as email marketing?
Yeah, I mean, the first one, and hopefully if you're diving into email marketing, this is something you can already check off your list. You need to be working with a verified email marketing service provider. By this, I mean, Constant Contact, HubSpot, MailChimp, any of those. There are plenty of great options out there, but you need to be working with an actual valid email marketing service provider. This is the only way you're going to get the tools and the analytics and everything that you need to actually implement a thorough email marketing plan. Anyone working in email marketing also needs to be aware of the rules and regulations that surround it. I think email marketing is wonderful and magical, but it can also really be abused. And I'm sure everyone has experienced that. They've, gotten an email that they never signed up for, or they have unsubscribed and they continue to receive emails. Because of those instances, there are laws in place around the world specifically having to do with email marketing. In America, I'm referencing the CAN-SPAM Act. So I really recommend anyone who's working with email marketing have a really thorough understanding of that. And there's great resources online that dive into exactly what this entails, but it's a couple of different things, making sure you're including the physical mailing address of your organization in every single email, making it very easy for your readers to unsubscribe, things like that. And this ties back into why I say you really need to be working with a verified email marketing service provider, because they want to protect you to protect themselves. So those two examples I just gave, chances are that's already going to be built into the system. So you're never going to have to worry, oh, did I remember to put the unsubscribe link in? It's already built in. You don't have to worry about it. Same with the mailing address. And along those same lines, best practice, you really want people on your list who want to be there. So you have to respect the unsubscribe. If someone tells you in passing, or if someone, unsubscribes based off of your link, you need to respect it. And the same goes with consent. You can't assume that every single person in the world wants to be receiving your emails. If you're asking for someone's email address for, to purchase a school sweatshirt or to attend your fall festival, that's not them giving you permission to add them to every email list that you have. There are plenty of ways to do that. You can, include a specific question, but you can't just assume consent. An inbox is flooded and it's a very personal thing. You don't just assume that you're invited.
Yeah.
Respect the inbox.
Exactly. Love that. So important before you get started. All right, let's talk about strategy now. So when it comes to an email marketing strategy, as a school marketer, it can be overwhelming at first to think about your entire year and all of the different emails you need to send. So I know a lot of times people are responsible for the internal comms as well as external enrollment focused. But when it kind of comes to the enrollment and missions oriented emails, what are your goals for getting started on a strategy there?
Yeah, you got to start with a plan, start with the very basics. What are your goals? What are you actually trying to accomplish? You should never be sending any email just to send it, just to, cross it off your list. Every email should have a specific goal and a specific call to action. So I think the greatest way to start, what are those goals? What are you actually trying to make happen? Those goals are going to dictate the content that you create and the audience that you're sending it to. If your goal is to drive registration for an open house, you shouldn't be sending emails reminding people to RSVP to your current families. That has nothing to do with them. So you need to understand what your goal is, who this goal applies to, and build content off of that. after I talked about this a little bit, but segmentation is key. You're not building one massive list. You're building a variety of different lists because, again, people want to open emails that are actually relevant to them. That's how you're going to get people to actually engage with your content and continue to open your emails over time. Because eventually, you know, if you're sending RSVP to our open house emails to your current families 6 times in a row, eventually they're going to stop opening your emails because they're going to say, this doesn't apply to me. Why would I? Clearly they don't know what I'm interested in. So segmentation is absolutely crucial. After every single email, you really should be looking at your results too. You need to be tracking your analytics because over time, what you're seeing is going to establish trends. What are you doing well? Where can you improve? What is your audience responding well to? You know, I think one of the biggest things that people might be concerned about is trying to come up with content. Look at your analytics. Your audience is going to show you what they're interested in, and that's going to really inspire you in the future when you're looking for new ideas.
I think adding to that too, with and what you just were mentioning before about, you know, the Can't Spam Act, there's the legal side of it, and there's the, you know, the just like relevant side of it, of just actually sending things that are relevant to people. There's also, you can also really damage yourself by sending emails to people who aren't asking for it. And it could include whether it's a list that you get and it's a cold email that sends out, or it's out of date alumni emails, or it's previous faculty who aren't, whatever it is. If you're getting those like negative, whether it's like unsubscribes, bounces, spam reports, the real, you know, fear to me in that, and the thing that I'm always like, you know, making sure that I'm checking these rates, is the email providers that people have, their Gmail and all that, are keeping track of what people do with these emails. And if they're seeing you send a bunch of junky emails out that aren't being opened, or you're getting send a huge blast out and get a ton of spam reports, like, that's how they decide now they're going to start taking emails from this email domain and start putting them right into the promotions filter or the spam filter or whatever that is. And to me, that's the real, I don't know if that is talked about enough, the danger of that, because it could be one area. It could be you're sending something that goes out to, you know, one bad list, and then that affects this other area if you're sending from that same school domain now, because your domain now has been tarnished as far as they are concerned. So that's something, to me, I don't know, if that's something that you have talked to other schools about.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you really raised a great point too, of you need to be looking, obviously no one wants people unsubscribing. In a dream world, an email would never bounce, but even to be looking at those analytics too, because that's going to help you identify the problem. So obviously you have the bigger issue if you're, you know, sending a bunch of cold emails and getting a ton of unsubscribes. Clearly, you know, that was the wrong move. But even if you're noticing there's an influx in unsubscribes, a lot of email marketing service providers allows you to have your audience members tell you why they're unsubscribing. Look at those reasons. Are they telling you you're emailing them too much? Are they telling you the content is no longer relevant to them? Because again, if you're not aware of the problem, you can't get ahead of it before it actually turns into something catastrophic for your school and your school's reputation.
Yeah. We talked a little bit about it before, but, you know, like, so I know you use Constant Contact, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So when we use HubSpot, and like, they're able to check off when you're going to send an email to a big group of people, you can say remove unengaged. So it's not even people who bounced or it's a wrong email. It's just people, they keep track to see, are these just people who haven't opened your past few emails? And I have to get out of the mentality sometimes of like, I want to send this to the most families. And get out of the mentality, because they're trying to help you by checking that off, and your send list going down a little bit. They're sending it to a much more curated list of people who are actually opening your emails, and your open rate is higher, and you're not hurting yourself by sending a thing that is going to just be ignored and
exactly.
hurting your reputation.
It makes your analytics actually more realistic, because those engaged contacts are actually the people who are going to, you know, take the next step with your content. Is going to show you an accurate click-through rate. It's going to show you an accurate open rate, exactly what you were just saying. And I think something like that, being able to also see who's less engaged, it does get like, obviously you want to send the most emails, but it also presents you with a different opportunity. Okay, here we have 50, 100 people, however many it is, who haven't been engaged with our recent content. You don't have to, completely remove them from the list. Start a nurture campaign, try to get them back, try to see if maybe they just need to update their own preferences. Their son used to play soccer and he doesn't anymore, so they're sick of opening your sports news. You don't want to lose them entirely. Give them a chance to come back to you and tell you what they're interested in.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Send an email to the unengaged and get them to update their preferences so they receive more content. I really like that strategy.
So one of the ways to get people to open emails is to personalize them and to use the info you have. So I just wonder, how do you work in personalizing the emails that you send out?
Yeah. So before I dive into this, I have to say, do not utilize personalization if you are not so confident that your data is clean. There is nothing worse. This happened to me actually a couple of weeks ago. They put my first name in the subject line, but it wasn't my first name. And I was horrified for this organization on their behalf. So only utilize personalization if you're very, very confident that the data that you have is clean. I love using personalization of just a first name and a subject line. I think it's a great way to stand out in a sea of emails. We all get so many emails every day. But, as I notice it with myself, as I'm looking at the emails that I get, if my name is in the subject line, my eyes are drawn to it because I recognize it. It's something familiar. So it's very simple, but I think that's very effective. And other ways I really like to use personalization, specifically with like enrollment and admissions, I love using, if you have their child's name, include the child's name in the email body. Any other personal information that you have, feel free to include it. And it's also important to track, who are they to you? If we're looking at admissions, where are they in your admissions process? There's little ways to personalize, like if you know that they are registered for your open house, having, a little side body text saying like, we can't wait to see you in 2 weeks at our open house because they're attending. Little things like that where you're just, I think anything you can do to show that there's a person behind your emails who actually is paying attention to who the reader is, what they're interested in, and who they are to the school. I think that's all very vital.
It's true. Yeah. And yeah, the clean list definitely is because it's with mass emails, there can be, I get anxious with these things because, you like, yeah, exactly. What can go wrong, and you send to the wrong, have the wrong name or the wrong, but, even just things like, to me, like when they fill out a form for us, for HubSpot, they fill out the form, they put their name, their student name, all that, and that will use it. But sometimes they fill out the form in all caps or something. And that's how the email would be like, hey, Matt, like, and that's something that we have to like very quickly be like, because they're getting a confirmation, like, thank you so much for learning about it. But we have to be really on when that's coming in to make sure that that is all right. And they didn't fill out a form, like answer the wrong question. So this is what they put in, and then there's how we use it. And they both have to be on point, or else, yeah, it can be messy for sure.
Yeah. We've had people, switch names. So like they'll put their child's name where it says like parent, and they'll put their name where it says child. So unfortunately, some of this stuff you won't know right away, but you do the best that you can. But it's, as you said, it's important to review afterwards what's gone out there, because if you see dear Matt and all in caps, that's an easy fix. That's something that you can handle right away. So going forward, that you're all set.
Yeah.
Great tips. Rebecca, if you wouldn't mind sharing with us, I'd love to know how you are segmenting and personalizing your emails at the Wolf School. Just kind of high level, if you could speak a little bit to that, that'd be great.
Yeah, so we have many different segmented lists. So internally, we have monthly e-news subscribers, we have our blog subscribers, we have current families, we have alumni families. And then, taking even a step back out of just marketing in the school, looking at development and admissions, we also segment our list based off of prospective families and where they are at in the admissions process. So one great way that I do this is utilizing tags. So this is a way you're not building 1,000 different segmented lists. But if I have a segmented list of prospective families, I can tag a contact if, you know, they've attended an open house, if they have signed up for a couple of days in the classroom visit. So I can personalize, you know, what they're receiving without building an entirely new list. The same is true for development. We do that every year with like who's given to our annual fund. Specifically, the reason I started doing this, it's certainly grown over the years, but the reason I started just doing that was because if someone has given to our annual fund, I don't want them getting the huge influx of emails asking them to give to our annual fund before December 31st. You know, it's out of respect for your readers too. And it's a great way to get tracked if someone's a first-time donor. That's a great way you can do a nurture campaign to try to help them become, you know, a reoccurring donor. It's just really understanding who your audience is and what information is relevant to them. Every email that you send should have relevant, applicable information, and it's through segmentation and personalization that you're able to do that.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great.
And so for your incoming families, like people who are looking to learn inquiries and booking tours and all of this, do you have a drip campaign that you do with them? And can you outline like what that looks like?
Yeah, so we actually we started one just this past year that was really successful. So I would love to share a little bit more about that. So I work at the Wolf School. It's a private special education school, and we have a very specific type of teaching model, and we teach a very specific kind of student. Not every student is going to be a Wolf School student, and we're not going to be the right fit for every single student. And that's how we want it to be. We want students here who will succeed with our learning model. But because of that, it's really hard to get that across with just our website. It's really hard to get that across with just one email. So when we noticed people were signing up for our open house before they actually learned anything about us. So this year we did a nurture campaign for anyone who signed up for our open house, you know, in the weeks leading up to it. And this was kind of seen, it was like an education nurture campaign where over the coming weeks before they attended, we were letting them know more about us. So not only by the time they attended open house, they would have a better understanding of what our teaching model looks like, what our you know, every day looks like, so they would become better prepared for questions. But also we want them to know if in the weeks leading up to it, one of the emails was, who is our students? Like, what do our students look like? We want them to know if we're not going to be the right fit, so they can say, oh, wait a minute, you know, here's a blog post about common characteristics of a complex learner. This isn't my child at all. Because again, we want them to be informed, so they're actually, when they show up to open house and they have these meetings with our director of enrollment and they go on these tours and we're setting up the student visits, it's more likely to lead to enrollment because these people are already very aware of who we are. They have a better sense of that. So that was something we just started this past year, and it was incredibly effective. The families who attended our open house, we did have some people drop out, but again, at the end of the day, kind of looking at quality over quantity, that's what we want. We want people showing up to these events who are more likely to continue down the funnel. The people who did show up were a lot more aware of what we do. Of course, there's so much more to talk about. They had great questions, but they were just in a better position to learn more about us and be able to move along instead of starting, you know, at ground zero.
That's great. Yeah, that reminds me of, you know, I think, you know, you had mentioned before, like starting with goals and doing that. And to me, like any marketing things that start with a like problem to fix is my favorite thing to do. To be like, it's not just like, hey, there's a cool tool, how do we use it? Not that, but like, we have like, so for us, there was the specific problem of people are booking tours, but we have a high number of no-shows. And it's not always that, it's just sometimes it's like, I forgot, or what, you know, so what can we do? So we actually did a time-based one in HubSpot using their tour date that like led up, very similar to what you're talking about for open house.
Yeah.
But it led up to each of their individual tours. So it's like a 3-email series to be like, we'll see you in 2 weeks. We'll see you in 3 days. We'll see you tomorrow. And it did what you're talking about, where it had some informative things and it had some things to get them, you know, up to speed for what the school is and what the interview will be and all that. but it also just worked as a reminder. And some people would, 3 days out say like, oh, I have a conflict and I can't do it. But that allowed us to like free up the date and rebook someone else instead of just having a no-show. So like, I feel like there's a lot of things that like that sort of drip I think people, when they think of a drip, they think of like, oh, you're an inquiry and you just get a slow series of information about the school, but it can actually fix some problems like that, open house attendance and tour attendance and all of that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you made a great point too, because it's, again, you also need to remember what it's like to be on the other side of these emails, what it's like to be a parent signing up for, you don't know how many schools they're looking at. They have so
Yep.
much going on. They're raising kids. They potentially have their own job. So it's also a reminder is helpful too, where it's not pushy. It's not like every single hour you're sending a reminder, but even just that to be like, hey, we'll see you in 2 weeks. We can't wait to
Mhm.
see you next week. Like just little things like that. Again, it helps your reader. And I think that's what
Mhm.
email marketing, a big part of it is all about.
Yeah. And
I
we,
love
we talked
reminders.
we talked to you a little bit before when we were just getting ready for this about like paying attention to other places. So for us, honestly, it was like, my kid's like dentist is really on it with reminder texts and emails and all that. And like, but that's the kind of thing where like, but we don't miss an appointment. And so like paying attention to those
Right.
things. So just kind of on the side here, but like, are there things that to try to get ideas and best practices and all of that? Are there things that you do or suggest that people do, to get those ideas and to see what others are doing?
Yeah, I really recommend subscribe to other emails, subscribe to other schools, but also don't be afraid to subscribe to, nonprofits or brands that are catching your eyes, a social media page that's catching your eye, because I think you can find inspiration in any of these emails. And there's also a lot of really great groups out there. I'm a part of a couple of great email marketing groups on Facebook, and it's a place where you can, share your latest win, but it's also a place where you can ask questions to be like, I really thought this was going to be a hit and it totally flopped. Like, get some feedback, because at least for me, and I'm sure a lot of other schools, sometimes your marketing department is one person. It's hard
Mhm.
to get feedback and from someone else who is going through the same thing. So joining, a Facebook group or attending a conference, little things like that. Email marketing is such a growing industry and it's always changing. So you really do need to work to stay ahead of trends and to know what's happening. But you also need to continue to get inspired. You don't want to fall into the same the
Mhm.
same email being sent out every single week. You want to be able to mix it up and you need to be having fun with it. And that's how your audience has fun with it too.
I
Yeah.
love that advice. Subscribing to other emails, seeing, what content you like. Is it a video? Is it graphics, infographics versus a lot of text? So it can really help inform a lot of different things. I love looking at subject lines too, like which ones catch my eye
Yes.
and get me to open. So in our final few minutes here, I want to make sure we can talk for a minute about data and what type of email marketing analytics you think schools need to be paying attention to.
Yes. So for so long, open rate was king. It's not really the most important thing you need to be looking at anymore. It's not going to be your key performance indicator, but it's still important to look at it because, again, if we're talking about getting ahead of a problem, if you're sending an email out and your open rate is 2% when you normally have 78%, clearly something went very wrong that you need to fix. So it's still important to look at it. But the most important things you need to be looking at are click-through rate and conversion rate. Click-through rate is the amount of people who are actually clicking on the content in your email, and conversion rate are out of those people, how many are actually taking that final step. And it's important to look at those together. So if, again, going back to the open house registration, if my goal is to drive in registration for open house and my click-through rate is 50%, if I stop there, I think I did a great job. I, crossed off the list, move on. But if my conversion rate is 2%, okay, what happened here? Was the click through the link deceiving? Did people not know what they were clicking on? And then when they got there, they're like, this doesn't apply to me. Did the link break?
Mm.
Actually seeing what happened between those two analytics is really important. On the other side of it, you need to be looking at unsubscribe rate and bounce rate. Unsubscribe is how many people deliberately chose to remove themselves from your email list. But as I mentioned earlier, this is a great way to see if they provided a reason. And normally your email marketing service provider will allow you to let your audience members tell you that. Are you sending too much content? Is the content not relevant to them anymore? Did they not sign up for your email list and they are frustrated by it? So it's really great to see that, because again, that's how you know if you need to adapt your plan at all. If, okay, I really thought this, I was understanding my audience's needs through content, but all these recent unsubscribes are saying the content isn't relevant to them. Clearly, I'm not understanding it. And bounce rate is how many emails are being sent but not delivered. Sometimes, this is happening because someone just put, an autoresponder on because they're on vacation for the holidays. And that's totally fine, because, when they come back in 2 weeks, their emails are going to get delivered. But other times this is telling you this person left their organization and this email is dead, or this email is misspelled, and it's a simple fix, but you're not going to notice that if you're not actually looking at your contact list. So all of those are really crucial. And again, you should be looking at analytics after every single email. Over time, this is how you're going to see trends, and that's when you make your changes to your email marketing plan. That's when you adapt.
Wow, so many great metrics to be paying attention to. I'm personally such a big fan of looking in Google Analytics after. So when somebody clicks through the email, gets to the website, what pages did they visit? Did they go on to email or fill out a form or register for an event? Those engagement metrics are so cool as well. And if you can't identify your email traffic in your Google Analytics account, one of the things I've noticed is that it can get bucketed under direct traffic a lot of the time. So a quick fix for our listeners is to use UTM codes in your emails, in your links, in your emails, and those UTM codes will feed into Google Analytics for you.
We almost made it all the way through, Angie. We almost made it all the way through without you mentioning UTMs, but you had to get it.
I'm happy she does. I was lucky enough to attend Angie's presentation and last year, and I have been using UTM codes, and they are absolutely key, because it's also a great way for me, at the end of the year, to be able to show the impact that marketing is having. I can track how many donations are we getting specifically because of email marketing. And that's something that, I can present in my end of year marketing report. That's, cold hard facts of showing the impact that marketing has on the school as a whole, which is always incredibly beneficial.
And amazing just to any changes you need to make and do next year, like you're working off of like real info. So
yeah.
Rebecca, thank you so much. So many awesome things. I think, getting the right messages out, right time, right groups, personalizing, segmenting. We're going to add some info here. We'll add some info on the resource page for this episode too, on like the Can't Spam Act and some of that, so people can kind of dig in and get a lot of info. So where can people like reach you or hear more from you?
Please follow me, add me on LinkedIn. I am the only Rebecca Bernardo-Hartley out there, thanks to my very long last name. So I should be easy to find, but I love talking about this. Please feel free to find me, message me, whether you're sharing a win or asking a question. I love talking to this stuff, and I love helping other schools.
That's great. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us, Rebecca. It was great to see you again, and keep up all the great work that you're doing over there at the Wolf School.
Thank you. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you so much to Rebecca for coming on and sharing all those tips. So many awesome things and important things for us to get and to be putting to use for email marketing.
Yeah, she really knows her stuff. That was an awesome conversation. So for this episode, Matt, do we have an A+ shout out going out to a school doing an awesome job in marketing?
I do. And today's A+ came from a Google search. So trying to think about what families are doing in the process and what they're looking for is really the key start to, making an inbound marketing strategy and thinking about what parents are doing. So I did search tips for school interviews, private school interviews, tips for private school interviews, and to see what showed up. And our A+ school showed up in our searches very high. I think they are the first school that showed up in the search other than other agencies. And it's the Fay School. So the Fay School wrote a blog post, 6 tips for acing a secondary school interview. And they put this together very clearly, 6 headlines with all the different points there, and in getting into the detail, and then ending with a form to learn more about Fay and download the article. I think it is a perfect example of inbound marketing that is targeted right to what families are looking for at the stage that they're looking for it. So just a shout out to Faye, awesome work. And I believe in looking, and I've seen this before over the years. So I think this is actually an article that they may have posted a while back, and is continuing to do well and to bring people in and help people and show up in searches. So nice work, Faye.
Yeah, I love that piece. And it can hit families at any stage of the funnel, which is great. Like tip top of the funnel, just doing their preparation and planning and figuring out, you know, how to get into a private school. Maybe they don't even know which one just yet. Or, you know, during that yield stage, like really making sure they seal that final phase in their interview process. So I think it's really stood the test of time in, you know, really showing what a solid piece of content can do for years, as long as it's relevant to what people are looking for.
Definitely. And homework assignment for school marketers out there is pretend you're a family who's moved to a new town or is thinking about changing schools, and Google the things that you would Google to search and find schools and see what shows up, and see if other schools are showing up or things are not showing up that are an opportunity for you to get yourself in there and be helping people at that stage. So thank you again to everybody for listening. Make sure to check us out on LinkedIn and upgradeschoolmarketing.com, where you can subscribe and get notifications when we publish a new episode. So thank you again. We'll see you next time.